Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Wareham Planning Board on January 2nd, 2024. Balmy evening it is. We'll call the meeting to order and to roll call. Sherry Quirk. Here. Mike Baptiste. Here. Sam Corbett. Here. And we have Carl Schultz on Zoom.
Here. I'm here.
And Chairman for the evening, Jane Gleason here. And is Ken Buckland with us as well? No, at this time. Okay. Okay. Thank you. At the chair's discretion to start out, I'm going to rearrange the order here a little bit from what's on the agenda and move the planning board rules and regulations for special permits and site plan review to the end, and move the public hearing 24-23 Town of Wareham special permit for site plan review WWPC at 6 Tony's Lane up one. So I'm just going to flip those two so that we have a little bit more open time for the rules and regulations discussion. So that being said, we will start with item 1 under preliminary business. Item 12-23, 370 County Road LLC. Request for reconsideration to reopen the public hearing for site plan review and special permit.
Hi, Attorney Jillian Morton here, 184 Main Street. So I'm asking for reconsideration of reopening of this hearing, 12-23. Reviewing the tapes, I had submitted a continuance to January 8th, and at that meeting, you guys actually pushed it to February 12th. So I think it was just an error on the agenda. That being said, I'm really sorry that we weren't here to convey that. I know that that was part of the question, but I didn't think I had to be here because you guys had pushed it to the 12th. So kindly asking for a reconsideration to reopen this. I know that my engineers are almost done with we have peer review from Phil, and we're going to be doing the responses should become this week.
So do I hear a motion?
Question.
Questions?
Your request came in late. Thursday evening. I'm sorry. Your request came in late at Thursday evening at 5:04.
Yeah, so actually, that was something that we saw on the agenda, but on your meeting on 12, I think it was 12/11, I reviewed it, and you guys, I had requested January 8th, but you guys said it was too full, so you moved it to February 12th. And that's all public record.
But that doesn't change the fact that you brought it in late, your request.
Because we saw it on the agenda, and we were kind of like, why is it on there? February 12th was the agenda, was what you had.
So it sounds like your request came in well before the actual date.
Yeah.
But not before the date that it showed up on the agenda.
Blame it on Ken.
It seemed like it was just a clerical thing, but I didn't want it to come off that we just thought we couldn't show up. I know that that's part of protocol, getting things timely, but I was under the impression it was all February 12th, because I specifically knew I needed to switch that date, which you'll see in the other next.
So the jump was when you saw that it was on the agenda?
Yes, I don't know. It says February.
And you weren't expecting it to be there?
Right. So we wanted to get something to you, so I apologize for the lateness of that. But if you look back on the hearing, and maybe you have your minutes there, you did continue it to February 12th. I think that was the 12/11 meeting.
So you only found out that it was going to be on the next meeting the Thursday before?
From the agenda.
So
I said, my engineer, I said, get a continuance on here.
Right.
And I didn't want to necessarily say, oh, well, it's supposed to be the 12th, but if you look back on if you see the minutes, it was pushed to the 12th.
So was that on September 11th? Or no, it wasn't September 11th because we didn't meet. Did we meet that
December, there was a meeting, and that's when I watched it. I watched it again today. And we had requested January 8th, and I believe this chairman said that date is too full, February 12th.
And somehow it's showing up on here on our list of upcoming meetings as being on January 8th, but you said that you've looked at the recording of the meeting, and it shows up as February. And I don't have the benefit of having looked at that. That's on September 11th. But you said there was a meeting in December? was it?
December 11th, there was
Yeah.
a meeting. I don't know if Ken's on or if he can grab if you have the minutes maybe in your file that you signed, but you continued it to February 12th. The board chose that.
December 11, 370, continued at 212. That's my notes, just what you said. So
So,
I think it was an error that it was put on the matrix in our notes as the 11th,
Okay.
the 8th.
so, yeah, I didn't want it to be like a last minute thing. I would have been
Let
here.
this one slide.
Entertain a motion to grant their request for an extension.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, I think the motion needs to be to reopen the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
that's-
did-
that's what it
No, I
says.
think what we need to do is we need to rescind the vote.
Well, I think that would work as well, either reopen the public hearing or rescind the vote.
So what
And
was your
then
motion,
move-
Mike?
It was.
So all in favor, Sherry?
If I'm permitted to vote, I will vote aye.
You are permitted to vote tonight in the absence of Mike King. Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So 500. And we need to set a date, and we'll need to re-advertise the public hearing. So,
Request February 26th, if that's possible.
that was what we were thinking as well.
Great.
Do I hear a motion do we need to make a motion to set the date as the 26th? We need to vote on it. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Sherry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye, and we need to request that the planning office post the notice of the public hearing.
Yes. And chair votes aye. So 500, to continue to February 26th.
Thank you.
Here he is.
Good evening, Ken.
Good evening.
So I think we're good.
I'm here for the next one, too.
Oh, that's right. The next item is item 18-23 and 19-23, request by applicant's attorney to change date of continuance to 2/26/24.
Great, so this was 2 hearings that are on for February 12th. I'm actually out of state with my family, so I requested to be on the 26th. So all of our different things in front of you will actually now be under the same hearings. So that would be the 26th because I'm unable to be here.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, Sherry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Thank you.
500.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next item, item 20-23, discussion and possible vote on drafted decision, David and Lisa Mather, 24 Oak Street. So it looks like we are going to need to re-vote on this. We had voted on this and approved it based on the decisions that had been discussed, but there were some issues with those conditions, and those have been corrected, but we need to re-vote based on the revised conditions. And Carl, have you had a chance to go over the revised ones with your notes?
I did review them, and I also had spoken or I think by email with Ken, and I believe that this is consistent with what we requested at the last meeting.
Okay, regardless of consistency, I think that we need to revote it anyway.
Oh, yes, no, you asked me if I reviewed it, and yes, I believe the revised draft is consistent with what we had wanted.
With the intent. Okay.
And the applicant's engineer, consistent with his discussion as well.
Okay. So I guess, I get a motion, I need a motion on revoting that decision. And then I guess we'll do a second vote to approve it.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So the decision has been, we've agreed to revote the decision, and now I need a motion to approve according to the new conditions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
The chair votes aye, so 500.
And then, Madam Chair, I think we also need a motion to adopt the covenant.
Okay. I will accept such a motion.
Do we have them?
Do we have the language?
Yep.
I
Yep.
do not know. Ken, do we have the language for that?
It was in one of the emails that Ken sent out. It was, I believe, in the same email with the revised decision.
It's standard format covenant. What it has to be added is the information on the subdivision plan itself.
Are you good with all of them, Ken? You agree with all the conditions?
Yes.
So do we need to vote on
Make a motion we approve.
second?
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
To the extent I can vote, aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Next item. Item 2-24, TJP Realty Trust LLC. It's an approval not required for 13 and 17 Over Jordan Road. Is there anybody here to speak on that project? Well,
Make a motion we deny.
Madam Chairman, this is the one that the engineer said he was at another meeting tonight.
correct. Yes,
He was
okay.
hoping to, if you didn't show
Thank
up, that he could go to postpone the item until later.
Thank you for the reminder. Yes, the engineer has a conflict and he will be here later this evening. He is racing to get here, so I said that
Withdraw my
I
motion.
we'll move it off
Okay.
until he arrives. Maybe that's him. Are you here for the TJP Realty? You're just in time.
You
If
just
you don't
made
mind coming right to the table.
Did get my warning?
Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
Just in time.
Probably would have waited to the end if I was
Just-
1 minute later. Is it okay to go ahead?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Could you state your name for the record? You can breathe first.
I almost ran up here. Good evening, Mark Tibbs, civil engineer with Cape and Islands Engineering. On behalf of the applicant, TJP Realty LLC, we just have an A&R before you tonight. Basically two purposes. They're two rather large lots. First purpose is there's a small parcel you'll see here. It's noted as not a building lot. The intention with that lot is to be served by a homeowners association that's being created for these existing lots. It's just a means of legal access to be able to walk across the street and not trespass on this parcel. It's going to be conveyed to that association just for their use as some water access. There's no dock or pier, you know, they could just be able to walk across the street and potentially walk into the water or sit there or something like that. So there's still adequate frontage, lot size, shape factor in this particular parcel, so it's still a buildable lot. The other thing is there's a pool that was built. These were some old structures here. There's a pool area, and we're just modifying this lot line slightly just so that the pool is properly on that owner's property. Again, more than excess lot area is available here, and frontage on the property. So we do believe this plan is suitable for an A&R for the users, and these are both father-son on that particular property. They're just fixing that encroachment of the pool for that lot line. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have none.
Any questions? Any questions? Carl, any questions?
Madam Chair, yes, I have a question. The small lot that's at the end that's going to be conveyed to the homeowners association, does that have adequate frontage, and does it require adequate frontage for this A&R?
It does have adequate frontage, 228 linear feet. It's going to be listed as unbuildable, so whether or not it requires it, I'm not quite sure that answer, but it does have adequate.
Regardless of it's that was my question. Regardless if it's unbuildable or not, it has to have adequate frontage. So that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
does
got
have
adequate frontage, so the question, I guess, is somewhat moot. Okay. Any other discussion? No?
Motion we endorse.
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
To the extent I can vote aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Glad you got here.
Glad I made it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sitting down so quickly. Next item, oh, and we do have the Mylar here, but we can, if, we can pick it up later. It's gone. Next item, 3-24 AD Makepeace Company A&R for 0 Tihonet Road. So, we did receive a newer plan. I'm not sure, did everybody see that newer plan? And the newer plan was based on Ken's comments that were sent out. And I don't have the plans here, I only have the applications here.
Yeah, the newer plans certainly did not come in by Thursday. I think we got them today.
Yeah, there are copies here. I thought it was just the Mylar, but there are copies.
I've not had time to review the revised plans.
Oh, and here are small copies. Thank you. So perhaps you'd like to weigh in on what
Sure.
is...
Good evening, Board. My name is Kenneth Conti. I'm a professional land surveyor for Beals and Thomas. Tonight, we're here on behalf of 80 Makepeace to present an A&R plan. It is a redivision of 2 existing lots that were the subject of an A&R plan that was before this board back in 2019. The parcels are off Tihonet Road, and what we're doing is really just taking two existing assessors parcels. I think it's map 111, parcel 1000B, which currently has access on Tihonet Road, and then map 112, parcel 1000, which is landlocked at this point, and what we're doing is cutting off the easterly portion of parcel 1000B and make that a separate lot that is adjacent to other land owned by Makepeace that is the subject of a large conservation restriction. And the remaining land is now going to be the benefit of the access that was part of the previous lot. And that's the second lot that we're creating that has adequate frontage and area off of Tihonet Road. And the plan does note the non-buildability of the remaining land that is, adjacent to other land owned by Makepeace. There's currently no structures on either of these properties, mostly cranberry bogs and agricultural canals. And
Whereabout is this?
this is just south of the town line between Wareham and Plymouth. I apologize.
Correct,
Yep.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
Is this the Frogfoot Bog area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, just south of Frogfoot.
So there's no roads, there's no power, there's nothing there.
No. There is a power line. I believe there's a power line. There's a transmission line that runs through the southerly portion of the property. It's shown on the plan.
That's where it comes off the power line and goes
Is
up.
that, yep, runs across Tihonet Pond.
Yep.
And there's also a power line running up. You see right at the town line there's a trapezoidal out parcel that is subject of a existing solar array farm there. And I believe that those power lines that run up Tihonet Road are where power gets transferred to that main.
It starts at the power line, there's nothing between the power line and the village.
Yes, right.
And this,
Ken did do a review, and that's why you have the new plans here. We had to make some minor modifications, add some notes that were also on the previous A&R plan with respect to the adequacy and width of Tihonet Road, as well as some of the other notes that will be under your signature.
That dirt road through there is like a highway.
Excuse me?
So that road is like a highway, that dirt road.
It's pretty, yeah, it's passable, very passable.
Very.
so it's an okay road to drive on, you're
Yes,
saying?
yeah.
And you're saying that map 111 gets access from Tihonet Road as well?
So map 111, so Tihonet Road extends into Plymouth,
Continues into Plymouth? yeah.
right? And other property owned by Makepeace, so there's all series of bog roads or, portions of Tihonet Road that runs up and through the Plymouth property, back into Carver, and then onto Federal Road, I
There's a
believe.
marker actually, if you get to Frogfoot, go to the left, there's a marker with Carver, Wareham, Plymouth on the same marker.
Oh, right, the three-way point? Yep, I think we've located that one.
It's crazy.
I think we got them all.
So lot 1000B gets its access from Tihonet Road just further up into Plymouth?
Yeah, it's other land owned by Makepeace.
Yeah, okay.
But it's identified as a non-buildable lot.
Mhm.
I think most of that land to the east is all under conservation.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
as I hadn't had a chance to review the plan, frontage is on Tihonet Road for these lots, or is it on this dirt road that Sam was talking about?
It's on Tihonet Road.
Okay, so it's adequate frontage on Tihonet Road.
So we're re-subdividing two existing lots, just keeping two lots. Previously, we had one lot that was non-buildable and one lot that had frontage. We've switched them around, and, we still have a lot one lot that has adequate frontage on Tihonet Road, and the other parcel, which is adjacent to all the conservation restriction land, is a non-buildable lot and does not have adequate frontage. And it's stated on the plans.
Just to be clear, Carl, it is a dirt road.
Yeah, but if it doesn't have adequate frontage and that dirt road is not an adequate way accepted by the town, I'm not sure we can approve the A&R. I'll defer to Mr. Buckland.
That's correct, but I think you have to recognize that if the road is being used, heavily used, that it's probably adequate way for the frontage.
So what is the process for getting it deemed an adequate way? It has to be accepted on the rolls for the town, right?
That's
Doesn't
right.
have to be an
It has to be accepted, it has to be, or it has to be in a recent subdivision, or you have to find it has suitable width, grade, and construction.
And was it in
Do we have-
existence prior to the adoption of the subdivision control law, which Tihonet Road was? But I don't think the
No,
question is whether or not the road, the parcel that has the frontage is adequate or not. That's a buildable lot, there's no issue there. I think your question is respect to the parcel we're calling non-buildable? The fact that it
Yes,
has
I
no
think
frontage?
both lots on the A&R have to have adequate frontage on an accepted way, is my understanding.
No, a lot that is to be considered a building lot that has adequate
to have
frontage
frontage.
and area and meets your zoning is one lot. The other lot, we're saying, is not a buildable lot, does not have adequate frontage, but it has access through other property
might-
owned by Makepeace.
So respectfully, my opinion is the buildability of the lot has nothing to do with the A&R. The only condition for an A&R is adequate frontage on an accepted way. And I'll defer to Mr. Buckland, or if Phil is there to coach me.
You're correct, Carl, that you can find it, though, that it has suitable width, grade, and construction as an option, as one of the options to determine that it has proper access from that way.
I accept that. Do we have the information to make that determination tonight? Because if I remember, we've had a previous A&R where we deemed that the dirt road was not suitable in construction, but we had to go back and get more information. So I don't have enough information to determine the adequacy of that way tonight.
If you haven't seen it, it probably hasn't, but it probably isn't enough information for you to make that determination.
Well, wouldn't that information have to be submitted with the plan? The road information?
Yes, it would be reasonable to include that information in the submittal, yes.
Okay, so that's my position then. I understand.
And I understand you haven't had an opportunity to review the plan yet, and I apologize for that. But on the plan, we restated the note from the prior A&R subdivision plan of this lot from 2019, and I'll read that note to you. It says, Tihonet Road is a way in existence when the subdivision control law became effective in Wareham, having, in the opinion of the planning board, sufficient width, suitable grade, and adequate construction to provide the needs for vehicular access in relationship to the proposed use of the lots.
That was for Tihonet Road? I don't
Yes, sir.
question Tihonet. I don't question Tihonet Road. The other lot doesn't have frontage on Tihonet Road. And I apologize because I don't have the plans in front of me. I didn't get them.
Well, and I'll point out that if the new lot 1000B has frontage at all, it's not shown on this plan, because I'm assuming that if there is frontage, it's up into Plymouth, but we don't have that information.
Right. Ken, maybe you can educate us a little bit more on this, but I've submitted in my 35 years of being a land surveyor, and I apologize, it's my fault for not knowing the regulation, but I've submitted many plans through the A&R process, and have identified a lot as to be not to be considered a buildable lot, because it doesn't have the frontage or the area. But it is land that might be adjoined with a budding property or sold to another person. And I've never had an issue or question as to why that's not permissible under the A&R regulation.
It is permissible
So,
to.
approval not
to
required
transfer in.
subdivision law, I'm sorry, the approval not required process is solely to determine that this approval is not required for this subdivision. We're not creating a subdivision by the subdivision control law, which includes creation of, a new roadway and new frontage. We're not doing that. We're just simply subdividing existing land. The requirement for frontage and area is related to whether the lot is to be considered a buildable lot or not. We have one lot that's to be considered a buildable lot. We have another lot that's not to be considered a buildable lot. It's standard practice to identify that. It's important that we identify that. It's not, your approval of this plan doesn't have anything to do with zoning. It's not an approval that this lots meet zoning.
Except in terms of frontage.
Excuse me?
Except in terms of frontage.
I didn't understand.
He said except in terms of frontage.
Except in terms of frontage. Yeah, it doesn't meet in terms of frontage, yes.
I thought that was a requirement for an A&R.
It's for a buildable lot, yes.
For a buildable lot.
Only for the buildable lot? That's not what that's why I'm asking. I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm trying to understand. I didn't read the A&R law to say that the lot had to be buildable.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that in the law. This is by precedent. By case law. They allow that you can transfer parcels of land, which makes sense that if somebody wants a piece of land off another person, they can A&R it and then transfer it by deed or whatever. But to do that, you have to be able to first be able to subdivide it off. And if you call it out as a non-buildable lot, then you're not conflicting with zoning, and you're not creating a non-conformity per se, because it's a non-buildable lot.
Okay, thank you. That's a situation I don't remember us coming up against in my tenure. Thank you. My question's been answered.
We got it so late. It's hard to talk about it when, I got it this afternoon about 4 o'clock. That's actually after 4. I was eating dinner so I could be here on time.
I apologize for that.
I'm okay.
So
I have a question. You mentioned conservation easement. Can you tell us a
Yes,
little bit more about that?
Yeah, the land that you're looking at, the subject of this plan, none of this is currently under conservation restriction.
Right.
The land to the east is about, I can't remember, I apologize, close to 1,600 acres between, mostly in Plymouth, that we've placed under conservation restriction, and that's all this land to the east of Frogfoot.
Okay. Is that the land that's been discussed in some of the 80 Makepeace planning documents as land given over to conservation? As
Quite
part
possibly.
of your, going
I'm
forward
not familiar
plans?
with those exactly, but I can tell you that that's land that has been
I think it abuts
to the
the
town.
state forest.
Yeah, Miles Standish.
Okay.
Because if you go to Tihonet Road to the end, you're at the entrance to the state forest. So the land, the Makepeace land to the west of that abuts up against state forest.
Okay.
Madam Chair, one more question. This is to you. Are the plans stamped and signed?
Yes.
The plans are stamped and signed. Yes.
Thank you.
And the note that was read earlier is indeed on the plans.
And the intended development of this land is residential?
We're not proposing any
It's
development.
a solar farm.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to endorse the A&R.
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
To the extent I can vote aye.
Aye.
At this point, aye.
Carl?
It's gonna be back.
Aye.
And because I believe it meets all of the requirements, the chair votes aye as well.
Okay.
Thank you. You guys want us to pick these up tomorrow? or-
Sorry?
We've got the
can sign 'em
Mylars
right
here.
now.
We could do that right now.
Yeah, I'm not there to sign. I'll have to go to the
Oh,
office
right.
tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, tomorrow's fine.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Better.
I'm in the office.
Madam Chairman, if you could sign now, it'd be great, because it's hard to get people into the office. And,
Yes, we'll do it, maybe at the end of the meeting.
All right,
We won't
great,
have the
thank
chair,
you.
We won't have Carl.
Yeah, we won't have Carl. Carl will have to come into the office.
We won't have the chair.
And well, he didn't vote.
True, my fault, sorry.
So Carl, are you available to come into the office tomorrow?
Barring any unforeseen circumstance or the creek don't rise, yeah.
So we'll sign it before we leave.
Okay. And moving on to continued hearings. Item 12-22 Wareham 3 LLC, 91 to 101 Faring Hill Road. They have requested a continuance.
Move we accept the continuance.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Do we have any idea what's happening with the case other than nothing?
We got a little note today, late.
Okay.
To answer?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Yes.
Kathy Pappalardo, Fearing Hill Road. Is the date really April 22nd?
Yes.
Isn't that the first night of town meeting?
I don't know.
I don't know. May well be.
I looked at my calendar and I was like, I think that's town meeting. I'm just mentioning it so
Good
they
point.
get
That's a very good
squared away.
point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So,
They just set the date last week.
April 22nd, so the next one would be May 13th.
Can you go to the town website just to make 100% sure?
Well, and we can't do this, I don't believe, without the applicant
Yep.
agreeing.
Okay, withdraw my
You can
motion.
meet before town meeting as well.
What's that?
You can meet before town meeting at 6, before town meeting, and take action on this one before it,
No way.
April 22nd is the date on the website.
Yeah, so it is the
Yeah,
first day of
we
town.
have the opportunity between now and then to continue it,
Yep.
to adjust this, if Mr. Shanahan is back.
Okay. So I guess we will need to follow up with Mr. Shanahan and come to an agreement that the 13th is acceptable to them. Ken, will the office reach out to him?
yes, we'll reach out to him and ask him.
Thank you.
But for the moment, we're going to move to continue it to the 22nd, right?
Yes, we're going to leave it there.
So I think we still need to vote.
Didn't we already vote?
Oh, you know what? I got lost in the procedure, so
We did vote to
We do-
continue to the 22nd, but we will work with the proponent to change that to May 13th, excuse me.
Remake that motion.
What's that?
Remake the motion.
Second the motion.
All those in favor? Sherry?
To the extent I can vote aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Carl?
I'm sorry. I'm fuzzy.
Not like you, Carl.
Chair votes aye. Moving along.
Hey,
Next
I like you as
item.
chair. It's lightning speed so far today.
Next item, 22-23, NStar Electric Company, doing business as EverSource Energy, special permit site plan review at 37 Doty Street.
Good evening. Brian Potvin with Civil and Environmental Consultants, representing NStar Electric Company, DBA EverSource Energy, relative to the redevelopment of the former flagship cinema site at 37 Doty Street. We met in end of November, gave the presentation about the project, talked with you all about some initial comments that you all had, and the recommendation was that the town secure the services of a third-party review consultant. We've been working with Ken's office through Sonia to set up the review with, I think they selected Allen and Major. We received a proposal as a courtesy copy from Sonia last week. And so our request is to ask for a continuance to give us time to capture those comments and to be able to address those in front of you all at the soonest available planning board meeting.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Phil is not here and is not with us by Zoom, so I don't know that we've got a good sense of how quickly he's gonna turn his review around and how quickly, or, how much time you'll need after that to assimilate the comments into the project.
Do you have any idea what time you would need?
First, his proposal said that he'd be able to provide his initial comments within 2 weeks of notice to proceed, which I'm not sure if that happened already.
If that happens, how much time do you need?
It depends on the comments.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
But certainly, we'd like to even have the meeting, even if we haven't fully addressed all of those comments, so that we could perhaps discuss here in front of the planning board what those comments might be and how we might address them. So basically, I think we'd like to meet as soon as we have the comments.
Well, so further, a further question for you before we dive into looking at dates. There was an NOI that was gonna be submitted to Concom, and I was wondering if that had
Yes.
happened.
Yes,
And
it
I
did.
was wondering if you have any sense of what the schedule is looking like with Concom?
Concom, I wasn't formally representing the applicant in front of the Conservation Commission for the notice of intent. However, we did attend to listen. So we had, I believe, 2 public hearings, and I believe we received an order of conditions for that. The Conservation Commission voted to approve that at the last meeting, which was in January. I don't know the exact date.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so that's a good bit of information to know. So
So we need a
it's-
date specific, so
Yeah.
let's just look at 6 weeks to pick a number.
Okay,
So,
You think that's,
1, 2,
that'd be great.
so six weeks, or, so 3 meetings out. So we're looking at March 11th? Does that sound about right?
Okay, I make a motion, we continue to March 11th.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
Aye, to the extent that I can vote.
Michael?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Thank you.
So we'll see you on the 11th.
See you on the 11th.
Moving to the item that we pushed forward, item 24-23, the Town of Wareham Special Permit for Site Plan Review, WWPC at 6 Tony's Lane.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Boggs. I'm an engineer working for GHD. We prepared the plans that you guys have received in the stormwater report.
Yes.
I did want to state for the record, though, that I'm licensed in Pennsylvania and Connecticut, and I'm currently working through reciprocity for Massachusetts. So I'm not technically licensed in the state. So just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
I refer to myself as an engineer, but officially not in Massachusetts.
Okay.
But I work for, Mark Drainville is my boss, and I'm a designee on behalf of the company to speak about the project.
Madam Chair, have the plans been stamped by a licensed engineer from the state of Massachusetts?
Look at that.
That is a requirement for submission, I believe.
They are stamped and signed by a professional engineer from the state of Massachusetts.
Thank you.
So we're looking to do some upgrades to the water pollution control facility, which processes wastewater for the town over on Tony's Lane. We're looking for approval of the stormwater plan, which consists of 4 stormwater infiltration basins, which we designed to meet both the town and the state regulations.
And I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. If anybody wants to look at the drawings while he's presenting, you're welcome to. There's one set. It's big. It's king-size sheets. So,
From a big picture point of view, we're looking to increase the capacity at the plant. Currently, there's what we call equalization basins, which when there's larger storms, sometimes these water pollution control facilities, in addition to wastewater, take in some stormwater. So those are typically when we see our highest flows. Currently, the plant has, again, what we call equalization basins, which we're trying to phase out. So there's items called clarifiers. If you look at the proposed plans, those are the circular facilities in the center bottom. Ultimately, there's going to be, this is a phased build-out. For this phase, there's going to be 2 new clarifiers, and you can see, I believe we put where 2 other future clarifiers will be installed. There's 2 new structures. One is the alkalinity building, which is center right on the plans, and then there's also a garage, which is up on the upper right-hand side. So to account for the new impervious structures, again, we're looking to have 4 basins, and we tried to place that throughout the site to try to treat the new impervious where it originates. So it's a pretty conservative design that we did. We made things a little bit larger than we needed to do based on the regulations, again, just to be conservative. So I'm here. If there's any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer.
Is this going to affect day-to-day operation at all?
Yes, it should make it a little more efficient. In addition to the new structures, we're also doing improvements to the headworks. The headworks is where the wastewater first comes in, so we're doing improvements there. And other improvements I'm trying to, and I'm the civil engineer, you know, I do my best to keep up with the process engineers.
Well, you've heard this for over a year now. gone to town meeting, we've all seen, at least I've seen plans. And does this have anything to do with the moratorium at all?
Can you say that again, please?
The moratorium, does this have anything to do with that?
There's currently a moratorium in town on hookups to the sewer system.
Yeah, so
and-
this will increase capacity.
When completed, it will increase the capacity.
I don't want to go on record, but yes, I do believe so.
You believe so?
So, Sam, was your question regarding affecting the functioning?
Functioning day to day.
Was that in reference to the final completed project, or was that
No,
also
on-
in reference to during construction?
There's a lot happening here at once. Are we able to handle the affluent that comes in on a daily basis without interruption?
Correct. That's part of our challenge is
Okay.
to, there's a lot of moving parts and we have some temporary pipes during construction just because it's unlike water treatment plants, we can't just turn it off for a few days.
Goes to the lagoons.
Can't
Just
you
keeps
send it
coming.
down the river or
I'm sorry?
bypass it down the river?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But again, this is another step as we continue to improve the plant. We're looking, again, for the additional clarifiers for 3 and 4 to come on in another, I think, 5 years or so.
So here's a 30,000-foot view question. How close does this, or how much closer does this take us to meeting the current and future either medium-term or long-term needs of the town? Maybe can or can't answer that, I don't know.
I do know that beyond the clarifiers that you see, so there's the current project is the 2 new clarifiers. A few years out are the 2 other clarifiers. And then by doing that, we're able to remove some of the equalization tanks and be able to repurpose that and be able to provide even more storage for that. So I would say that this is probably takes us, say, 1/3 of the way to where we ultimately want to be in about 10 years.
And 1/3 of the way to meet current or medium-term or long-term needs?
I mean, currently the plant does meet the current needs, but our ability to add more lots, to add more flows is limited because we do have to use those equalization tanks on a regular basis, which that is what we are trying to solve, is to get rid of the equalization basins and replace that with clarifiers and tankage.
Yeah, and I would put out there the observation that the current needs, I would put out there that the current needs are, when there's been a moratorium in place off and on for the past bunch of years.
Well, I'm a realtor, as we all know, and I sell houses, and I'm also on the capital planning committee. And talking to the supervisor, he said, no more capacity right now until this is done. If anybody says they have a permit or an agreement with any other person, show me the permit. So as it stands right now, this is the $36 million project we passed at town meeting. And this is supposedly going to increase the capacity dramatically when it's completed totally. So I mean, I've seen these plans many, many times. I think it's a good idea. I think we go forward.
Madam Chair, do we have a peer review? Have we reviewed this against the bylaws? Have we reviewed this against all the MS4 regulations? That's what we're voting on. Not do we think this is a great idea, not do we think that the town needs this, but does it meet the bylaws, the laws, and the rules and regulations?
Ken, can you answer that?
We have not gotten a peer review as far as I know.
Ken, do you want to weigh in?
Yes, that's correct. We did not order a peer review until after the board made the determination that it was appropriate to have the Water Pollution Control, the Sewer Commission come up with the 53G account money and hire Allen and Major to review the project.
Which is my only point. I'm fully in favor of the town moving forward with this. I just don't want to rush into this without doing all the process.
I have a question. Have you all looked at compliance with with our water regulations, our stormwater regulations?
Yes. Let me see if I could read from our report, which is the basis of design for those four basins. The stormwater management report has been prepared to demonstrate compliance with Article 11, Stormwater Management and Illicit Discharge of the Wareham Town Bylaw, and Article 12, Performance Standards, Sections 1260 through 1271 of the Wareham Zoning Bylaw. This report also shows that the proposed stormwater design for the Wareham WWPC Improvements Phase 2 project meets the intent of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Stormwater Management Standards and is in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act regulations and water certification regulations.
Okay, so, I think it sounds like what we need is just a peer review to take a look at what your findings have been and make sure that, that we agree with them.
And I'm gonna stop us right here for a moment and untrip myself, this being my first meeting as chair, sitting in this position. I'm going to read the notice of public hearing, which I should have done earlier.
Oh, yeah, we need to move to open the public hearing and
Thank
do
you.
all
Yes,
those
we do.
formal things. I apologize.
Yep, and my apology as well. So notice of public hearing, the Wareham Planning Board will hold a public hearing on January 22nd, 2023 at 6 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to consider petition number 24-23 for a special permit for site plan review from the requirements of Article 15, Section 1520 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Town of Wareham, Mass., care of GHD Inc., of 1545 Iano Road, Hyannis, Massachusetts, 02601, proposing to demolish, remove existing pavement and basins along with repairing other equipment and implementing the stormwater management plan located at 6 Tony's Lane, parentheses, Assessor's Map 43, Lot 1000, in the 1000 zoning district, and close parentheses.
So move. Oh, I move that we open the public hearing. I'm
There
sorry.
you go.
Second.
All those in favor? Sherry?
To the extent I can vote, I vote aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The public hearing is open. Thank you, as you were.
Okay, so going back
Yeah.
to my questions, the applicant read from his report and referenced compliance with the Article 11 and another article. He did not read any reference to compliance with Article 15 or any of the other articles of the zoning bylaws, which all need to be reviewed as part of the site plan special permit.
Ken, any comment?
That was the drainage report that he was referring to there, and he did refer to the correct sections of the bylaws regarding the stormwater management system.
Yes, but he did not refer to any compliance with Article 15, which he needs to for site plan review special permit.
Who did not?
The applicant,
Yeah.
when he was referring, he made references to, as Ken said, to stormwater sections, but he also has to be compliant with Article 15
Yep.
and several other articles.
I think I only asked you about the stormwater management, so.
Bless you.
All I'm saying is, this is a great idea, we need to do it, but I'm not rushing into it without doing a thorough review. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. I think it bears a full-on review.
Given the problems we've had with the wastewater treatment and our history there, I don't want to be part of making it worse. I would like to be part of making it better.
But I thought I recalled from the presentation at town meeting that there would not be an increase in capacity from what was being undertaken with the investment approved at town meeting. Is this is something separate and beyond, or has that opinion changed, or am I not remembering it correctly?
This is the project that was discussed at the
Yeah.
town meeting.
Okay.
And I agree with you, Sherry. I believe it was stated that this first phase is not increasing capacity. It's making needed repairs and upgrades
Yeah.
to make it.
So this would be good news.
Correct. The additional clarifiers will increase capacity. The additional clarifiers
So-
will increase capacity.
Are they part of this phase, or that they were a future phase, I thought?
Can you say that again, please?
The additional clarifiers, I didn't think they were part of this first phase of the project, or did I misremember?
I apologize. I'm having a hard time hearing him.
Okay. What passed at town meeting was headworks and clarifiers
Yes,
first.
yes.
And you're talking about a whole lot more. We passed $36 million for that particular job. And you're going beyond that, and it's confusing us,
I apologize.
because there's been no money appropriated for what looks like you're proposing here.
What you have in front of you is what was passed at the town meeting. The only thing that was not included was the future clarifiers that we show on the plans, which is just
Right.
for spacing. So we wanted to make sure that we designed this project with the future clarifiers in mind.
So are there currently no clarifiers? And these
No,
two are new?
there's 3 smaller clarifiers in the,
I see 3 sledge holding tanks.
they are being, that should be the proposed. If you go to existing, those are current clarifiers that are being
I see that are being
altered, repurposed.
to be
Correct.
Those are the wrong
sledge
fuzz-
holding tanks.
those
And
wrong
then these
fuzzy
two
fuzzy.
new clarifiers are going in here. and
Correct.
here.
And if I am misspeaking about the capacity of the plant, which I believe that it is increasing, but I would defer to the process engineers, whether the capacity is being increased by the clarifiers. But I do believe that capacity is increasing. But if I am contradicting what was said at the town meeting, I apologize, because I am the civil engineer, I'm not the process engineer.
And a
So,
plan review would be something different, I would think.
Yeah, so before we get to that, I guess I would also like to hear a little bit about the abutting properties and uses, and what the visibility is, what the buffers are, what the lighting is gonna be for the new facilities, what your expectations of traffic might be. It does enter onto the site, you do enter onto the site off of Route 6 in a kind of residential neighborhood. So those are things that I think would be of interest to know more about.
So, Madam Chair, we opened the public hearing. Was notice given to all the abutters, and do we have the green cards and all of the notice certification? We normally don't jump right into the civil engineer report. There's usually more of a buildup and all the background stuff.
Yeah, and where do we stand with green cards? I know that was actually a process that was in flux, and I don't know where we stand with that.
Do you have the fiber folder from Sonia? They're often attached in the back of that fiber folder. We learned it the last time we did this.
Yeah, no, they're not here. Oh. They're not green.
That's a first.
So it appears that they're here, but I do not have the abutters list, so I have nothing to check it against.
But there is
Yeah,
an
so we-
abutters list in the application.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to go through this. We jumped right into this without going through the whole, do we have all the application materials?
Well, I will say that I'm interested in getting sort of an overview of what the project is before we start our review, so that we're not coming into it completely 100% cold.
Perfect. That's what I think I'm sort of trying to say.
Yeah, yep, no, appreciate that. Yeah, so we've got green cards and the lists to review, So that list of items relative to the abutters, that's something that I would also be interested in knowing about, and you probably don't have that information here tonight, so.
The question is, have the abutters been all notified of the project?
I don't know. We've got this and we've got the list, and I personally haven't had a chance to review it, so.
You want to hand it to me?
And for my own knowledge, so our application is for the site plan review, which would be performed by you, the board? Or is there a third party? Which I apologize just for the
To
logistics.
do a peer review would be a third party, but the site plan, well, so,
Correct, it's for this is the review as we're.
right.
Okay.
I mean, we rely on the whatever the peer review comes back with as well. We're not experts. We're,
So to clarify again, Madam
so-
Chair, this is a site plan review and a special permit.
The list of the-
Is that correct?
the right number.
Yes. Yes, you are correct.
Just,
Yeah, just eyeballing it, we've got 6, 10 notices and about 27 abutters, so.
Okay, so there's some missing.
Yeah, let's keep.
And these are just the receipts, you can get some back that are not deliverable. And if you can show that you've made the effort to reach them.
Repeats are not done as well, too, if there's more than one name, more than one instance of the name being on the list.
There may be duplicate listings there.
That's true.
So I guess in question is whether we need to initiate a 53G account and whether we're requesting a peer review.
We also need to see if anybody here is opponent or opposed,
Yes.
public hearing.
Is there anybody here?
So
who wishes-
I move that we authorize or we request the applicant to fund a 53G account for a peer review.
I will point out that the applicant would be the town.
That doesn't, I don't think that matters, right?
That's fine, I thought I would point that out.
Second, if he wants to go that route now, that's fine. We can approve the 52.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at a huge undertaking for the town, I think it's worth,
I agree. And we have to have the right person to do
Looking
the
at it.
peer review. This is unique. Not everybody can understand this project.
And that's what I'm asking, is that we have professional advice as we make these decisions.
Yep, I understand. I think we should do that right now. We have a motion and a second.
all those in favor? Cherry?
Yes, to the extent that I can vote.
Michael?
Aye.
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. So. Ken, Is this something that the office can undertake setting up? And I don't know how we approach this and whether we look at I don't know what the process is for
This is unique. I mean, it's
selecting
one of a kind.
selecting an engineer that's going to be suited to the task of peer reviewing such a large project.
Has to be unique.
We'll contact Allen and Major and see what they have, because they have a contract, they can hire some other people as well, too.
Okay.
Specialists that are needed for this. I don't know how much we want to get into the processing, the process, because that isn't really part of the site plan review. So we don't necessarily need a wastewater engineer, except to know that the system is being properly cited on the property.
Right, so the peer review would be related to issues that are related to what we can look at for site plan review.
Correct.
Yeah, makes sense.
This is very abnormal, something we'd never see again. So, public?
Can I request? So, can we request that the peer review be limited to the stormwater design of the site? Because our
No,
concern is
I
that
don't
we get-
accept that. No,
that we get
it's
tripped
gotta be,
into looking at the
the peer
process,
review is
you know,
sub-
One at a
items that are-
time.
Our concern is that we get tripped into a peer review of the process design of the wastewater design, which is being thoroughly reviewed on the state level.
And
And
go ahead.
a lot of the site, we're leaving as is. Our concern is that this then snowballs this project, which was approved by the town for a certain budget, is our concern, is that this then drags it then, now we expand the scope of the project, which we're trying to limit the scope for these few areas and having stormwater associated for these few areas. So our request is, with the peer review, that it be limited to stormwater, the stormwater management.
I'm going to put out there that I think it's not limited to just stormwater, but I appreciate what you're saying about the process, that's well beyond the purview of this board, the process of the plant. But what is within the purview of this board is things like what I had listed, the visibility from the neighbors, the buffers that you're going to provide, if they're being affected at all by the work that you're doing, the lighting that's going to be used on the site so that, dark sky, not in somebody's
These are all
eye.
normal things that
So
we go
these are all
through.
things that would be part of any site plan
Right.
review special permit. So we're not asking you to do anything above and beyond. I think maybe some of what you're referring to in the scale of this project is just the acreage that it's taking up, and that's unusual for us. But no, we're not gonna look at the process. That's not our purview, and we understand that. So I think that the peer review that we would look for would be related specifically to zoning issues. So I think we're on the same page,
Yes,
but I think that what we're looking for is a little more than just stormwater.
Roger.
It's all normal stuff we do. Nothing special.
So, do we want to open this up for public comment?
I'm
Any-
sorry?
Open it up for public comment. We've got some people who are interested in speaking.
Can you step back?
No, you can stay there. I don't think that the people coming up will bite.
Bit anybody yet?
Nope.
Annie Hayes, Farmers Lane. I was thinking of the same thing because, as I recall, the discussion of funding was for 2 town meetings. In the first one, there was an issue with the select board saying they wanted to know what the whole scope was, compare it to other towns. And so it was shot down. And then the second one, which is our last town meeting, it was stated by the proponents, the proponents, that we had incurred $600,000 debt because we had waited that time. So I am interested in just what you've said about it, expanding, so a coordinated timeline so that everybody knows when what you need is going to be addressed, and perhaps it can come forward from these folks in priority so that that can meet the timeline that they need to not exceed budget.
if that makes sense.
Tricia Wertz, 30 Taft Street. I'm just sitting back here because once upon a time I was on the Board of Selectmen and I sat in a lot of the meetings that the sewer committee had about this, and I'm just suggesting that as you discuss this further, have someone from that board, Bernie or someone, sit in this meeting to help the group keep the line clearly demarcated between what this committee has to look at versus what they do. That's about it.
I think that if we keep our sights on what's part of the zoning bylaw and not stray from that, I think that's appropriate, and it's what we can do and what we should do. So all of us need to be cognizant of that.
And cognizant of health, safety, and welfare, which is part of our charter as well.
Absolutely. So,
I think all we can do is continue it. at
yeah, I
this
think
point.
that's right, but I'm thinking if there's anything else that we want to talk about that would be fruitful in moving this forward tonight. Not moving the project forward, but moving the process forward.
So, Madam Chair, a suggestion for moving it forward, if the applicant came to the next meeting and introduced the project, went over the project, and introduced it in that way, which is normally the first step of a site plan review, special permit, notwithstanding the intent of their project. Go over the project, diagrams, showing us the work, like a normal site plan review special permit, and hearing all the citizens and hearing the applicant. I'm not suggesting that we stray beyond our purview, but zoning bylaws are our purview, and we've got to ensure that this fits within that framework.
And I have to say, I'm not sure I understand what exactly our jurisdiction is here. I don't know where it begins and ends. It's not like, it's, to me, not easily recognizable as a site plan review or a special permit as we usually look at those projects. And I get the stormwater parts of them. And, you know, I think the towns versus the zoning bylaws treatment of stormwater is maybe confusing also. And so I would appreciate some discussion of what our jurisdiction is so that we can be sure we're staying where we need to be.
Within that.
It's bylaws.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that the bylaws sort of lay that out. But you're
So,
feeling that that's,
Madam Chair, through you to either the applicant or Ken, was there a letter of denial issued? Why is this here? I'm assuming there was a letter of denial that was issued, that was then determined that this is supposed to come before the board.
That's correct. There was a denial. Which is what we were told would likely be the process.
All right, so we're moving forward. We're not trying to obstruct. We're just trying to get all the carts and horses and everything in the right order. And we appreciate your concern that we stay in our lane. And that was what Ms. Quirk advocated. Perhaps we need some guidance on the rules of the road. But other than that, I think the rules of the road are the bylaws.
And I appreciate too your desire to have us back here, but we would request to get the review prior to us coming again, just so we can dive into those comments.
that you're responding to something,
Correct.
not just to a
Yeah.
vacuum.
I'm happy again to go back over the project or any more questions you have, but in terms of coming back in 2 weeks, prior to having the review.
Yeah.
Again, my concern, having been through other board meetings, is sometimes you have a review engineer that, will focus in on certain parts that.
They can vary soup to nuts.
Correct.
So what are we thinking about for a timeline for getting that review? We don't even have the reviewer on board yet, and perhaps it's our regular reviewer, gonna draw a blank on their name. Anyway.
Philip Cordero.
Mr. Cordero.
Phil Cordero,
So
his
Allen-
office
Allen
was
and
the one I was
Majors.
trying to.
Allen and Majors is the
Allen
firm.
Majors, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Perhaps it will be them, and in that case, I'm guessing that it would be most expedient rather than trying to find somebody else, for sure. So I don't know how quickly that we can get through that process of bringing them on, hiring them, and getting them to do the review. Ken, do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, that'll take about 2 weeks for their, so I think the earliest that we'd see a report from them is probably 2 meetings out.
So we could get a proposal and a report from them in 2 weeks?
No, in 4 weeks.
4 weeks, okay, that sounds more reasonable. So 4 weeks plus whatever time it would take you to,
We would probably need,
a couple of weeks anyway,
correct, so we're probably looking 2 months out then,
okay?
to be able to have us review it and then have the engineer of record review it to be able to stamp the revised plans.
So we are looking at March 25th.
This is an odd one.
It's not something that we do every day. We have one sewage treatment plant.
Make a motion, we continue to March 25th, the public hearing.
Any further discussion? No? Can't discuss once a motion's been made, correct?
Continue the hearing.
Yeah, all those in favor? Sherry?
To the extent I can vote aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Can I ask one more question? I apologize for taking up so much of your time. So we'll get the review letter, we'll address their comments, we will update the plans. Does that then go back to the review engineer to re-review, to issue more comments? And then we have to go back, just for my own knowledge, just to understand. And again, I
No,
apologize
it's a
for
good,
being
no, it's,
difficult.
no, it's a good question. It's a fair question. As far as I know, I think, if
Can we have them meet both at the same time? Peer review and them, both of it together. Save some time.
yeah, maybe. So we should plan on having the review, the peer reviewer here the same night as the presentation or something on the 25th. He's usually here. This is an anomaly that he's not, so.
And we look forward to having, another engineer look through this.
Yep.
So we do welcome it. My only concern was just the timeline and.
Absolutely. And I think we're concerned about the timeline too, but equally we're concerned with making sure that we're not just passing it through, so.
I understand.
Do you have a timeline that you're seeking to attain for this?
Yes, we are submitting what we consider our 95% plans this week. At the end of this week, the town will review it, and then we'll take it from 95 to 100 over the next 2 months.
So who are you presenting the 95% to, the town?
The authority, I apologize, the actual.
The sewer commission.
Correct, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Correct,
And that's this week, you said?
yes, our,
Okay.
what we call out the door Friday.
Again, it's strange to have to go to multiple committees.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's a process. So
We're done.
the sooner we can get this peer review done and get you guys the information of anything that we're looking for, the better.
And we're happy to get more copies of the plans, or if they prefer digital copies, you know, and.
Yeah,
and
there are clear requirements for the plan copies. We need 8 copies, an electronic copy. That should have all been part of the application process.
Which
and
we did
electronic
submit.
copies.
Did we, I thought we did submit 8 copies. And perhaps I'm incorrect.
Yeah, no, well, however many, maybe there are 8 here. 6 copies here, but I don't know if 2 copies went somewhere else. That's a possibility. And the drawings, I think that there were multiple. There are 2 copies here of the drawings. So.
And we can coordinate offline. I again apologize
Yeah.
for taking up so much of your
Yeah,
time.
no worries. No worries. Would you like to come up?
We've already continued the public hearing. Are we taking more testimony?
No, I'm sorry. Nancy McHale, I just have a question. I just took a look at the denial from the building department, and basically it says they're looking at the number of parking spaces. I mean,
That is one of the items in the bylaws. That is for 30 acres or more than 9 parking lots requires a site plan review special permit. Those are things we need to look at.
I'm not saying that you don't need to look at it. It just seems that that's absurd that triggered this. Anyway, thank you.
Excuse me, to the citizen, why would it be absurd? Why would this be any different than any other construction project in town that we need to make sure that we follow the bylaws?
Through the chair back, the word absurd was inappropriate. I'm sorry. I would like to retract that negative comment. But again, it seems, I'm not saying that the bylaws shouldn't be followed. I'm saying that the fact that it was simply the number of parking spaces for an industrial site that triggered the site plan review, the special permit, et cetera, and that was the only thing that the building department could find wrong with the plans, seems extraordinary to me.
We've fielded waivers on requirements in the past for other applications, and why would parking not be among those that a waiver could be requested for?
I don't know if you've ever done another sewer plant.
Yeah, well,
You also have,
not heavily populated.
we also have selectmen involved, sewer commissioner, we're involved, building department, board of health, conservation. It's a lot more than we normally are faced with.
Yeah.
It's a very unusual product.
And our understanding going into this is that it would come to the board regardless, you know, one way. So perhaps that's just the first thing they found.
Perhaps it is, but I would, as a citizen, would have expected it to be a more overreaching letter of denial rather than just parking. Not that parking's not important.
And then you have the state involved. And they're,
But thank you, guys, and we do look forward to being here again in March and getting the review comments, and move forward with this.
Right, well, thank you.
thank you.
So the next guy.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We still
We have one more item,
What?
the one that we moved, the
Oh,
planning board rules and regulations.
You're right.
The-
I try. So is Carl gonna do this?
I am if we move to that item, yes.
So, moving on, the next item is to discuss planning board rules and regulations for site plan reviews and special permits.
Yes, so I note that this is a public hearing continued from, I believe, October. I don't have the date in front of me, but this is a public hearing, which is required. And I'll be glad to, the current draft is posted on the town website, and copies have been provided to the board for review. To give a broad overview, this set of rules and regulations will complement the existing subdivision rules and regulations, which are also being updated and will come before us in the future. And they are also related to the design guidelines that we developed for the redevelopment district. So this is part and parcel of the board's operating procedure. To quote from the introduction, the purpose is to make sure, such as the applicant who was previously before us, understand how we operate and what we need to do to effectively do our job. So not only the applicants, but the citizens of the town. So
Carl,
these rules.
point of order.
Yes.
Shouldn't we open the hearing, the continuance before?
No, the hearing has already been opened. We don't have to reopen the continuation. We don't normally open a continued public hearing,
Don't usually reopen.
right?
Okay,
It's opened, it wasn't closed, Sam.
okay,
Are we okay?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I don't want to drag this out, so I'll ask questions. But basically, I was just trying to note that these rules and regulations were developed in conjunction with redrafting the zoning bylaws, which were passed at fall town meeting. So the idea was to, as we stated when we went through the bylaws, to make it much easier for folks to understand how things get done and what needs to be done. And hopefully we've achieved that goal. The beginning of the rules and regulations are some definitions of some terms. Then we go into defining roles and responsibilities. These are rules and regulations related to site plan review and special permit and for the planning board. Then we go into discussing the need for complete application, and we define, in addition to the application documents, which may need to be revised a little bit. Ken was involved in this, so he can jump in at any time and correct me. This supplements and defines what's needed in the application. We did add a couple of artifacts that we want to see to make sure that we get them. The things that have come up in prior discussions. So we want to see the letter of denial. We want to have verification from the tax collector. These are things that we've gotten in the past. A new item is, and it came up in a problem that we had, we want to see a title report. The plans that we need, all of those items are normal and what we had been getting. Some of these items were moved out of the bylaw and into the rules and regulations. List of abutters we talked about, receipts of notices, things like that. Then we talk about the contents of the plan, definition of existing. By the way, there are a couple of typos. Ken has to give me some typos. And Mr. Riley submitted a letter of comments identifying some typos as well. talk about the project development plan, which is really just giving us an overview of the project, and then some of the content of that. An impact statement from the applicant telling us the impact to the town. So, for example, in the previous application, we didn't discuss the impact as an example, only as an example. Then it goes into some things that we've been talking about. Item 3.5 talks about the requirement, because for public hearings we need 14 days notice for a public hearing anyway. All material needs to be submitted and in the hands of the planning office, and then by extension, the planning board, 14 days before the scheduled public hearing. A public hearing should not be scheduled until the application is complete and materials are complete. So that should help with some of the timing that we've been talking about. It does talk about the waiver of some application, the ability to waive application requirements, not the ability to waive requirements of the zoning. That's a different issue, but we can waive the requirement in certain cases for certain application documentation. Then it talks about the review procedure, and in the latest version of the bylaws and working into the rules and regulations, we've introduced the concept of a design review board and certainly a more robust application review process, with the goal to ensure that the applications as being presented are more complete and that the applicants have a better expectation of what's going to happen when they show up. That's the goal. So we're looking to beef up those procedures up front before we get into a public hearing, to make sure the applications are complete, that the information that we have is complete, and the applicant understands the process. Then we talk about the need to circulate the application to all the relevant boards. Again, that was in the bylaws before, it's moved into the rules and regulations now. We talk about the conduct of public hearings. We introduced the quorum and quantum of vote. We talk about scheduling public hearings. We talk about notice. We talk about the process for conducting the public hearing. We talk about the need for agenda. All of this is consistent with open meeting law and in support of open meeting law. And then it talks about what our actions can be, and then the timing and appeal process. Talks about compliance with ethic rules, open meeting laws, role of the town council as an advisor, and the fact that each meeting will have a record, which includes the minutes and the recording. Then we talk about specific things for special permit. The process for special permit and site plan basically are the same. We talk about the criteria for final review and action. And let's see, anything else? I'm not trying to read these all. We introduced the idea that we can, much like with subdivision, we can require performance guarantees, which I don't think in the past, I think we always had the ability to do, but in the past we haven't necessarily looked for performance bonds on some of these projects to ensure a performance guarantee. The application fees, technical review fees, which we talked about, is the 53G account. Talks about how they can pay the fees, and it talks about our process for adoption. So the process for adopting and amending rules and regulations are through public hearing. We can adopt and amend these rules and regulations as things evolve. So that's a quick summary of what we've got. Ken or Sherry, did you want to add anything that I attempted to move through quickly?
I guess I'll just say there are some specific instances where we have tried to address issues that have come up and have caused some problems for us in the past. And I would say one is, for example, when applicants have sought to meet with town council.
Just put the dogs up there.
And we have established the rule, at least informally, that our council is there to meet with us and advise us. And just a few other things like that. I would say in reviewing it today, I saw a few places where I thought we could do a little bit more refinement and making consistent of some of the timelines that we have for making decisions and the timeline that we have for decisions. So I'll give those comments in a little bit later. But I do think this is a good effort as we began to take as much as we could out of the zoning bylaws and put them in the rules and regulations so that we can move more nimbly and flexibly to change them when we need to.
Seems a logical intent. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think we've all worked on parts of this over the. Sorry. I think we've all worked on part of this over the last couple of years. Carl and Sherry's done a great job of pulling it together. Are you intending to have us vote on this, Carl?
We do need to vote on it at some point. The good news is, so the answer is sooner than later. I would hope we can vote on it because there's a gap right now. These things have come out of the bylaws and we need to get them back on the record. But more to the point I wanted to make is that if we do find that we know they're imperfect, but to the point that where we find that there is a gap or an improvement, we now have the ability to do that through public hearing more quickly than through town meeting. So yes, I'm hoping we can move forward. There are Scrivener's errors in this document. I believe that we could approve it with noting the Scrivener's errors, and Ken has a list of those as well. He's going to send to me, and Charlie Rowley, as I said, did send a list to me today, to all of us today. But so the answer to your question, Sam, the long answer to a short question is, I hope we can move to vote sooner rather than later.
I think personally, I'd like. Go ahead.
The process is that the planning board holds a hearing, votes on it, and then files it with the town clerk, and then it is official regulation.
I think I would like to see us go through Charlie Scrivener's, or his review and.
I agree 100%.
Pick up some of the Scrivener's errors and then vote on it.
I was not able to read that before this evening.
Same here, same here.
Yeah.
So I would like to read through that and correct some of those Scrivener's errors so that they're not memorialized as our,
Yep.
what we voted on.
So do we need to keep the hearing open to do that? Yes.
Sounds like we do.
Yeah.
Yes. So first, I move that we incorporate by reference Mr. Rowley's notes to the public record.
Yes.
That was a motion, I guess.
Second?
All those in favor? Sherry?
Yes, to the extent I can vote.
Be cool. Sam?
Yes.
Carl?
Aye.
And chair votes aye.
Okay, and then we need to take public comment, which is important.
Yep, absolutely important. Anybody?
Public?
Annie?
Annie Hayes, Farmers Lane. Carl, I really appreciate your going through all of that. It really helped to
make that clear and something that we can visualize and understand what you've done. So thank you, and Sherry as well.
Anybody else? Any other comments? So, shall we continue this to when?
The next meeting where we don't have a whole load, which we do have coming up.
Yeah, and I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Well, right now, just pick a date.
Yeah.
You can always continue it.
Yeah.
I don't have the date.
February 12 is in 2 weeks, February 26 is in 4 weeks, and March 11 and 25.
Well, let's see what we have here. March 11.
Carl, do you have any sense of how or actually Ken, even more so, do you have any sense of the timing of the AG and looking at the bylaws that were passed at town meeting?
That should be coming up within a matter of days at this point, because it's 90 days after the filing with the by the town clerk, and the town clerk was pretty fast about issuing the report of town meeting.
She was. So that, I think that means sooner rather than later would be good for this. As Carl said, we do have a gap.
Yeah, right, and that gap is a
Right
little
now, on our
concerning.
schedule for hearings, the only thing we have is the ones we did tonight, beyond,
On the 12th?
on the March, yeah. I mean, there's nothing here, unless we count the 2 things we did tonight into March. Everything else is open. At least what we have scheduled on our
So
calendar.
what I'm remembering was that we had a pretty full schedule on the 12th and on the 26th.
Right.
And I'm going to point out that I will not be here on the 26th.
Say the 12th then.
February 12th is, we've got 370 County Road, we've got Hidden Trails, we've got Christie LLC, and we've got 370 County Road. Why is that on there twice? Oh, subdivision
Well,
and
the
the
quin- yeah.
site plan and special permit. So we've got those 4 projects on for the 12th.
That's a light load.
Want to do it then?
Yeah.
On the 12th? Somebody want to make a motion?
Which is 12th,
February 12th to,
5th, is that what you said?
no, the 12th.
March 12th,
No, February.
February 12th.
February.
Make a motion, we continue to February 12th.
Second.
All in favor? Sherry?
Yes, to the extent I can vote.
Michael?
Yes.
Sam?
Yep.
Carl?
Yeah, yes.
And chair votes aye. So the next time we'll discuss this is February 12th.
And not that we deliberate by email, but if anyone sends corrections by email, that should be fine if we're not deliberating. If you find typos or gaps, I think that would be fine, right? Ken, you have a list for me, right?
I was going to do it directly into the document.
Oh, then let's make sure we work from a Word document, because you have a PDF, right?
That's right.
Or yeah, I'll make sure we have a Word document. We'll just make sure we're sure who's editing.
But that's not for discussion.
Yeah. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, all my
for
comments will be
discussion.
redlined.
Right, it's not for
For-
discussion, which we go down that rabbit hole, we get stuck.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, do you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
Motion adjourned.
Go for it. All those in favor? Sherry?
Yes, to the extent I can vote.
Michael?
Yes.
Sam? Carl?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.
Covering all the bases, huh?